What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? It's Daniel, and welcome back to our video. Today, we're doing an updated look at the 2023 Daytona 500 entry list. A couple weeks ago on this channel, I did a video on the initial 2023 Daytona 500 entry list, and now we're looking at what has been updated to the 2023 Daytona 500 entry list. Let's go ahead and just jump straight into it. Starting off with the one car for Trackhouse Racing. This course will be driven by Ross Chastain in 2023. Ross Chastain is coming off a very strong year in 2022, picking up 2 victories and making the championship 4. Ross is going to be looking to have a really strong year in 2023 and will be, I think, a threat to win the 2023 Daytona 500 as well. Looks to win his first Daytona 500. Up next, talk about the 2 car for Team Penske. This course will be driven by Austin Cindric, the defending winner of the Daytona 500, who won in 2022. Austin Cindric had a pretty solid year in 2022, picking up 1 victory, of course, in the Daytona 500, and he did make it to the round of 12 as well. I think Austin Cindric could have a really strong year in 2023 and could win back-to-back Daytona 500s. He's a really big threat, someone to watch for on super speedways, and I think Cindric will be a big threat in this year's upcoming Daytona 500. Up next, how about the 3 car for Richard Childress Racing? This will be driven by 2018 Daytona 500 winner Austin Dillon. Austin Dillon had a pretty solid year in 2022, picking up 1 victory the last time we were here at Daytona International Speedway. Austin Dillon looks to have a better year with a new teammate joining him in 2023. Austin Dillon will be looking to have a really solid and great year and hopes to have a great year in 2023. Up next, how about the 4 car for Stewart-Haas Racing? This will be driven by Kevin Harvick, who won the 2007 Daytona 500. Kevin Harvick's coming off a little bit of a disappointing year. Granted, he did get 2 wins 2022, both of them back-to-back victories at Richmond and Michigan. Unfortunately, though, Kevin Harvick, outside of that, had one of his least amount of top 5s and top 10s he's ever had in a season. Kevin looks to improve on that in 2023. It is possible this could be the last year for Kevin Harvick driving full-time in the NASCAR Cup Series. So this could be his last time he raced in the Daytona 500. In 2023, he hopes to win his second Daytona 500. Up next, how about the 5 car for Hendrick Motorsports? This will be driven by 2021 NASCAR Cup Series champion Kyle Larson. Kyle Larson got 3 wins in 2022, his latest coming at Homestead Miami Speedway, and he also won the pole for the Daytona 500 in this past year in 2022. Kyle Larson will be looking to win his first Daytona 500 and be looking to win, I think, his 19th or 20th Cup Series victory in this year's upcoming Daytona 500. He hopes to get it done in 2023. Up next, how about the 6 car for RFK Racing? This will be driven by Brad Keselowski. Brad Keselowski had a very disappointing year in 2022. He did have a chance to win the Daytona 500 in 2022. He had a couple good runs, but generally he struggled. Brad Keselowski looks to improve in 2023, and he hopes to start off the year by winning the 2023 Daytona 500. He hopes to get that done. I think it'll be a big threat, and we'll have a chance to win the 2023 Daytona 500. Up next, talk about the 7 car for Spire Motorsports. This will be driven by Corey LaJoie. Corey LaJoie is coming off a little bit of a disappointing season where I think he finished 31st in the points. In fact, I think he finished the 2nd lowest of drivers running full-time in the points in 2022. Corey LaJoie will be looking to improve in 2023, though, and be looking to have a really strong year and hopes to improve in the 2023 season, driving the number 7 car. Up next, how about the 8 car for Richard Childress Racing? Big changes coming to this team as Kyle Busch will drive the 8 car for Richard Childress Racing in 2023. This will be Kyle Busch's, I think, 19th try to win the Daytona 500. He still has not won the Daytona 500 at this point. I think Kyle Busch throughout 2023 is going to be a legitimate championship contender and a championship threat, but he'll be looking to try to win his first Daytona 500 in 2023. Up next, how about the 9 car for Hendrick Motorsports? This will be driven by 2020 NASCAR Cup Series champion Chase Elliott. Chase Elliott is coming off a pretty good year where he scored 5 victories, and for most year was the driver beat, but did kind of struggle near the end of the year. Chase Elliott looks to improve in 2023 with a much better season and much better performances. He hopes to have a much better season in the number 9 entry. I think he's got a good shot to get that done in 2023. Up next, how about the 10 car for Stewart-Haas Racing? This will be driven by Eric Almirola. Eric Almirola initially was going to retire at the end of 2022, but has decided to come back for 2023. Eric Almirola looks to improve on a very, very kind of quiet year in 2022. I'm worried he may not, just due to everything that's happened behind the scenes. But I think Eric Almirola could have a good year. We'll have to wait and see what happens. He'll be looking to win his first Daytona 500. Up next, how about the 11 car for Joe Gibbs Racing? This will be driven by three-time Daytona 500 winner, Denny Hamlin. Denny Hamlin's coming off a little bit of a disappointing year where he started off the year struggling. He got 2 wins in 2022, and we're looking to improve in 2023 as well. Denny Hamlin's got a good shot to win the 2023 Daytona 500, and I think he will be an absolute legitimate threat to win this year's upcoming Daytona 500. Up next, talk about the 12th car for Team Penske. This course being driven by Ryan Blaney. Ryan Blaney has been really good at the Daytona 500 over the last couple of years. He's come very close to winning it, but has never won the Daytona 500, but is a really good super speed racer. Ryan Blaney is definitely one of the favorites going into the 2023 Daytona 500, and you've got to watch out for him, as I think he absolutely could be a threat to win the 2023 Daytona 500. Now, he's coming off a winless year in 2022, if you don't count the All-Star race, which isn't a points-paying event, but Ryan Blaney will be looking to win his first Daytona 500 in 2023. Up next, how about the 14 car for Stewart-Haas Racing? This will be driven by Chase Briscoe. Chase Briscoe wasn't fast on super speedways last year, but he did have a very solid year throughout the regular season. He did have a win that came at Phoenix and did make it to the round of 8 in shocking fashion. Chase Briscoe will be looking to win his first Daytona 500 in 2023 and hopes to get it done. Chase Briscoe looks to be a threat, and I think he could have an outside shot to win the 2023 Daytona 500. Up next, how about the 15 car for Rick Ware Racing? This is a first car that has not been officially announced at this point. However, I do think that Rick Ware Racing is not going to be making any changes to the team in 2023, and my prediction for the car is going to be David Ragan. David Ragan has ran a lot of the Daytona 500s as of recently and tends to run a couple races, including super speedway races. So I think in 2023, he is going to make the decision to run the Daytona 500 with the Rick Ware Racing Group. I think he drives the number 15 for Rick Ware Racing in this year's upcoming Daytona 500. Up next, how about the 16 car for Kaulig Racing? This will be driven by AJ Allmendinger, who will be going full-time in the Cup Series once again for the first time since 2014 to 2018 when he drove for JTG Doherty. AJ Allmendinger will be looking to have a really good chance to win this year's Daytona 500. Kaulig has generally been really, really fast on the super speedways, and their super speedway program has been really, really good. So I do think that AJ Allmendinger does have a really good shot and a really good chance to be a threat, and I would watch for AJ Allmendinger in this year's 2023 Daytona 500. Up next, how about the 17 car for RFK Racing? This will be driven by Chris Buescher. Chris Buescher's coming off a very solid year in 2022, picking up a victory earlier this year at Bristol. Unfortunately, Chris Buescher, outside of that, though, did have some not-so-great performances, though he was really fast on the road courses. I think Chris Buescher could improve in 2023. I think with Brad coming in to be an owner the last year, I think it's taken some time for the team to get acclimated. Luckily, though, I do think that Chris Buescher is going to improve with the longer that Brad's been there, the faster the team has gotten, and I think Chris Buescher is going to improve in 2023. Up next, how about the 19 car for Joe Gibbs Racing? This will be driven by Martin Truex Jr. Martin Truex Jr. is coming off of a very disappointing season where Martin Truex Jr. failed to win a race for the first time since the 2014 season. Martin Truex Jr. also failed to make the playoffs for the first time, I believe, since 2014 as well. Martin Truex Jr. looks to improve. He won both stages in last year's Daytona 500 and led a lot of laps, but he's not won the Daytona 500 in many, many tries. He looks to open improve in that and actually win his first Daytona 500. Up next, how about the 20 car for Joe Gibbs Racing? This will be driven by Christopher Bell. Christopher is coming off of a career season. He scored 3 victories in 2022 and was able to make it to the championship 4. I think Christopher is someone who could be an underdog to win the Daytona 500. He's been really good at super speedways in the NASCAR Xfinity Series, but it really hasn't transmitted over to the NASCAR Cup Series yet. I think Bell has a really good shot, and we'll see if Christopher Bell could be a threat to win the Daytona 500. Up next, we're going to talk about the 21 car for the Wood Brothers. This will be driven by Harrison Burton. Harrison Burton had a very disappointing year in 2022. Granted, he was a rookie, but I thought he'd do a little bit better. He had a couple bright spots at Atlanta at the Indy road course, but outside of that, he did struggle throughout 2022. So he hopes to look to improve in 2023 and also hopes to win his first Daytona 500 in only a second year because he was really fast in the 2022 Daytona 500. Up next, how about the 22 car for Team Penske? This would be driven by 2015 Daytona 500 winner and defending NASCAR Cup Series champion, Joey Logano. Joey Logano's coming off a really awesome year. Like I said, won the 2022 NASCAR Cup Series Championship, and he also is a really great super speed racer. So, when you're going into picks for the 500, you definitely have to watch out for Joey Logano because Joey Logano is very aggressive, but also fast and always a threat to win. So, I think Joey Logano is going to have a really good shot and a chance to win the 2023 Daytona 500. Up next, how about the 23 car for 23XI Racing? This will be driven by Bubba Wallace. Bubba Wallace is coming off of a very good year in 2022. Outside of the suspension where he got in the Kyle Larson, he had a really good year, especially near the end of the year where he picked up a win at Kansas. He also, in Daytona 500, actually had a really good chance to win the Daytona 500 and came up just this close to winning, finishing second to Austin Cindric. I think Bubba Wallace is going to be a really strong threat. I think, in fact, he's the guy who's actually going to win the Daytona 500 this year, the upcoming season, just because he's been really, really strong and really, really fast over the years at Super Speedways. So I think Bubba Wallace has got a shot, and I think he will be a threat to win the 2023 Daytona 500. Up next, how about the 24 car for Hendrick Motorsports? This will be driven by William Byron. Now, William Byron has 1 year at Daytona. He actually picked up his first career NASCAR Cup Series victory at Daytona. I think William Byron could be an underdog to win the 500 this upcoming season because he's been really good at Super Speedways, but also looks to improve on a kind of year that started off great, but struggled near the second half. I think Byron, though, could be an outside threat to win some races in 2023 and win a lot of races next season. Up next, how about the 26 car for Team Haysbers? Now, this car has not been announced, and this is a to-be-determined car at this point. If this car is entered Daytona 500, I would predict that maybe Danny Kvyat or someone else like a Jacques Villeneuve will drive this car. Outside of that, I'm not entirely sure who would drive this car, but this one currently is to be determined at this moment. Up next, how about the 27 car for Team Haysbers? This one I would expect to be showing up in the 2023 Daytona 500, and my prediction is going to be Larice Hasemans. Larice Hasemans is basically the son of one of the co-owners of the organization, so that will play a major role in getting him the ride in that car. I think it will be Hasemans who drives the 27, and I think it will be announced in the early portions of 2023, but I expect Larice Hasemans will drive the 27 car in 2023 for the Daytona 500. Up next, how about the 30 car for 3F Racing? This team is going to be entering around 8 to 10 races in 2023, but it's unclear if they're going to enter the Daytona 500. If they enter the Daytona 500, my guess is it's going to be Justin Allgaier who drives this car. Initially, I said Kaz Grala, but Kaz Grala will be with Sam Hunt Racing and Xfinity, and I think he's going to want to focus on those ventures, and I think he'll be obligated working with Toyota teams. So I think that we're going to see Justin Allgaier drive his car if they enter Daytona 500. Up next, how about the 31 car for Kaulig Racing? This car will be driven by Justin Haley. Justin is coming off of a pretty decent year, considering he didn't really have any expectations going into the 2022 season. Justin Haley had a pretty strong season, considering his standards. So I think Justin Haley could be somewhat of a threat throughout 2023, especially in this year's Daytona 500. I think he's got a really awesome shot and a really great chance to win the 2023 Daytona 500. I watch for Justin Haley because he could win the Daytona 500 in 2023. Up next, how about the 33 car for Richard Childress Racing? This one's also to be determined because while a lot of people don't think this car could show up, I could see this car showing up. If this car enters the Daytona 500 in 2023, my prediction is going to be Sheldon Creed. The reason is because we'll talk about Austin Hill here in just a second, but my prediction is it's going to be Sheldon Creed who will drive his car in this year's upcoming Daytona 500 if this car is the one to enter. Up next, how about the 34 car for Frommer Motorsports? This one's been confirmed this past week. Michael McDowell will drive the 34 car for Firmer Motorsports in the 2023 Daytona 500. Of course, the 2021 winner of the Daytona 500. Michael McDowell will be looking to win his second Daytona 500 in the last 3 years, and we know that Michael McDowell is always a threat, especially at these super speedway tracks. So I think Michael McDowell will actually be a really strong threat to win the 2023 Daytona 500. I keep your eyes on him because I think he's got a really good shot and a really good chance to win the 2023 Daytona 500. Up next, how about the 36 car for Front Row Motorsports? While the number has not been officially announced for Zane Smith will likely drive the number 36 for Front Row Motorsports in 2023 in 5 to 6 races. Zane Smith, of course, who's coming off of winning the 2022 NASCAR Camping World Truck Series Championship, now the Craftsman Truck Series title. I think Zane Smith is going to be somewhat of a threat to win because he has won here at Daytona in the past. He actually won this past year in 2022. And I think Zane Smith will have an underdog shot if he's able to make the field. I think he'll have an underdog chance and an underdog shot to win the 2023 Daytona 500. Up next, how about the 38 car for Front Row Motorsports? Just like Michael McDowell, Front Row confirmed that Todd Gillen will be returning to the 38 car in 2023. Todd Gillen is coming off a little bit of a disappointing year, but nothing should have been expected for a rookie. Todd Gillen, though, I think will shine on the super speedway tracks in 2023, and I think he'll have a really good solid shot and a really solid chance to maybe win this year's upcoming Daytona 500. We'll have to wait and see, but I think he will be a solid threat to win the 2023 Daytona 500. Up next, how about the 41 car for Stewart-Haas Racing? This will be driven by Ryan Preece. Ryan Preece is coming off of a pretty solid year in the 2022 season where he actually scored a win in the Truck Series at Nashville. This will be the first time that Ryan Preece has been full-time in about 2 years. He did race in the Cup Series full-time in 2021, but in 2022, he's been racing part-time as a SHR development driver. Ryan Preece will be looking to pick up his first career NASCAR Cup Series victory in the 2023 Daytona 500, and he could get it done because he is a very solid super speedway racer. Up next, how about the 42 car for Petty GMS? This car will be driven by Noah Gragson. Noah Gragson, of course, who had a fantastic year in Xfinity 2022, picking up 8 victories, will be looking to win his first ever Daytona 500, and not only that, his first career NASCAR Cup Series victory as well. Noah Gragson is going to be an underdog in that race specifically, but I think Noah Gragson could be a surprise, and he could have a chance to win the Daytona 500 like anybody else, but he could be someone that could be a threat to win the 2023 Daytona 500. Up next, how about the 43 car for Petty GMS? This car will be driven by Eric Jones. Eric Jones has 1 year at Daytona. He won here back in 2018 and be looking to win his second Daytona race ever and his 4th career NASCAR Cup Series victory in the Daytona 500 and get his first Daytona 500 victory. That's the goal for Eric Jones. Eric Jones had a solid year winning the 2022 Southern 500 and be looking to win for the first time back-to-back years of races. He hopes to get it done, and I think Eric Jones, actually he won 2018 to 2019, but I do think that Eric Jones could be a threat to win some races and he could have a chance to win the Daytona 500 in 2023. Up next, how about the 44 car for Petty GMS? While the number has not been announced for Jimmy Johnson at this point, I would anticipate that Jimmy Johnson will be driving the 44 car. Jimmy Johnson is returning to NASCAR for the first time since 2020 and 2023 in a select number of races, including the 2023 Daytona 500. It makes a lot of sense. That's a number I would run considering Jimmy Johnson, he's ran a 48 car, but that number will be staying with the Hendrick brand in 2023. That has been confirmed. I think Jimmy Johnson will be an underdog to make the field, and I think he's got a really good shot to get it done, and I will watch for him in 2023. Up next, how about the 45 car for 2311 Racing? This car will be driven by Tyler Reddick in 2023. Tyler Reddick's coming off of a 3-win season with Richard Childress Racing and made it to the round of 16, but did not make it farther than that. Tyler Reddick looks to improve with the 45 camp. That car was driven by Bubba Wallace for the second half of the year, but basically Bubba's taking all the 45 crew over back to the 23. It was just a number swap. Tyler Reddick looks to have a great year and looks to win his first ever Daytona 500 in his 3rd or 4th try. Tyler Reddick looks to win his first ever Daytona 500 in 2023. Up next, how about the 47 car for JTG Doherty Racing? This will be driven by Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. is coming off a very disappointing season where he only scored 4 top 10 finishes the whole entire season, actually 5 top 10s, and almost barely made it outside the top 30 points. He actually finished like 27th or 28th in points. He was strong in the 500, but crashed out of it. It was a very disappointing season for Ricky Stenhouse Jr., and he needs to really improve, and hope he can do that by maybe winning the 2023 Daytona 500. Up next, how about the 48 car for Hendrick Motorsports? This will be driven by Alex Bowman, who returns to the cockpit in 2023. Now, for Alex Bowman, this is going to be a contract year for him in 2023. Alex Bowman looks to have a very good year in 2023 by trying to win his first ever Daytona 500. He's won at some other tracks that came close, super speedway-like tracks. Bowman looks to win his first ever Daytona 500 in the 2023 season and looks to do that with the number 48 cam. He could be a threat and could be someone to watch for in this year's upcoming Daytona 500. Up next, how about the 50 car for the Money Team Racing? While the Money Team Racing has not announced their plans for 2023, they're expected to run 6 or 7 races in 2023 with Connor Daly running a majority. But they're saying that Julio Castroneves could likely get into the 50 car. It sounds like this could be the major landing spot and a major landing place for Julio Castroneves in 2023 if Castroneves is going to run. I plan to talk about that on the channel here later this week about this Julio Castroneves news that came out from a certain reporter. But we'll have to see what happens. And it sounds like Castroneves could be going to the Money Team for the 2023 Daytona 500. But we'll have to wait and see what happens. Up next, how about the 51 car for Rick Ware Racing? While this car has not been confirmed for 2023, I would anticipate that Cody Ware is going to drive his car in the 2023 season full-time, including the Daytona 500. This car has been driven by Cody Ware the last 2 or 3 years, and I would anticipate that Cody is only going to continue driving this car in 2023 on a full-time basis. Cody's been focused on NASCAR for the last few seasons and looks to improve in the 2023 season. Hopes to have a great and fantastic year in the number 51 car and help Rick Ware Racing improve. I would anticipate he'll be driving the 51 car in 2023. Up next, how about the 54 car for Joe Gibbs Racing? This will be driven by Ty Gibbs. Ty Gibbs, who's jumping up to the Cup Series on a full-time basis in 2023, looks to try to win his first career NASCAR Cup Series race in his first ever Daytona 500. Ty Gibbs will be looking to also have a great year and be one of the best rookies we've ever seen. I'm not really expecting that from Ty Gibbs because he kind of struggled in his select Cup starts. He ran in 2022, but he looks to have a great year in the 2023 season. And honestly, I could see him having a great year, and maybe he could still win in the Daytona 500, but we're going to have to wait and see what happens. But he looks to have a great rookie season in 2023. Up next, how about the 55 car for MBM Motorsports? This car is still to be determined at this point. My prediction, though, right now is if this car does enter Daytona 500, I think J.J. Lee will drive this car. He actually drove the car in the 2021 edition of the Daytona 500. Unfortunately, did not make the show with the Hex funding. I'm a little worried and nervous of this team. They've kind of struggled with lack of pace and speed and didn't show up for a lot of races throughout the 2022 season. But I think this car could enter, and I think if they enter, it will be J.J. Yeley who will enter the car. Up next, how about the 62 car for Beard Motorsports? This will be driven by Austin Hill, who will drive the 62 car for 6 races in 2023 in the Cup Series. Austin is also expected to return to the 21 car for Rich Schultz Racing in the Xfinity Series. Austin is coming off of a great year, scoring 2 victories in Xfinity, and also made his Cup Series debut in 2022 as well. Austin looks to improve, have a really good year in Xfinity, but also looks to get a lot of really awesome Cup experience and steal the show and maybe win his first ever Daytona 500, considering he's a really good super speedway racer. Up next, how about the 66 car for MBM Motorsports? This car is also to be determined at this point, but MBM tends to enter. My prediction right now is that it's going to be Timmy Hill who drive this car, just because Timmy Hill has driven a 66 car many times. I could see Boris Said maybe getting behind the wheel, but right now my prediction would be Timmy Hill, just because of the experience that he has had in this series and his super speedway experience as well. So I think it's going to be Timmy Hill who will drive his car in the 2023 Daytona 500. Up next, how about the 77 car for Spire Motorsports? This car will be driven by Ty Dillon in 2023. Ty Dillon's coming off a very disappointing season with Petty GMS, where unfortunately he lost his ride due to his lack of performance. He looks to improve with Spire Motorsports. I will be talking about where I think he'll finish in points in 2023 sometime this week. But I think that Ty Dillon could be somewhat of a threat because he's good at super speedways. But I'm nervous that Ty Dillon, with the Spire being a little bit basically not reliable, I'm a little worried that Ty Dillon could struggle. We'll have to wait and see what happens. But right now, I'm not sure how Ty Dillon is going to and how he's going to perform. Up next, how about the 78 car for Live Fast Motorsports? While drivers have announced at this time, they are switching manufacturers to Chevy, so that's a big change for Live Fast. However, I think BJ McLeod, who's driven in the Daytona 500 for this team the last 2 years, he will be the driver behind the wheel of this car. And of course, you have Josh Blicky behind the wheel for select races, but they'll have BJ McLeod behind the wheel of this car. BJ's had a lot of experience in the 500, has a lot of super speedway experience, and I think that'll play a role in keeping him. Plus, he actually, of course, got a top 10 the last time we were here. So I think BJ will be the driver of this car when they do enter the Daytona 500. Up next, how about the 91 car for Trackhouse? This, of course, being the Project 91 entry. Now, sounds like right now that this ride could be off of the table. The only reason this team would probably enter is with Julio Castroneves, and with the rumblings and rumors going on at the moment that Julio might be going to the money team for the 2023 Daytona 500, I think that this is unfortunately kind of gotten off the table, and it sounds like this has become very unlikely and probably will not happen in 2023, unfortunately, for the Daytona 500, at least because it sounds like Castroneves will be going over to the money team. Up next, how about the 97 car for 2311 Racing? This is a specialized car for only one driver, and that is Kurt Busch. The only reason this car is entered, like I said, would be for Kurt Busch. Now, I think Kurt Busch could have a chance to return, and he wants to return in 2023. He is not officially retired from NASCAR at the moment. He's just retired from full-time racing. He didn't say, though, at this point that he wants to quit racing, so there's a chance he could enter the Daytona 500 and drive for 2311 Racing in a third 97 car. We could see this car in more races in 2024 as well, but I think that we're going to see this car enter in a few races with Kurt Busch, and I think he could enter in the Daytona 500. And finally, we're going to talk about the 99 for Trackhouse Racing, and that will, of course, be driven by Daniel Suarez. Daniel Suarez had a breakout year with Trackhouse Racing in 2022 and looks to improve on a very solid year in 2022 by trying to have his first multi-win season in the NASCAR Cup Series and continue to win in 2023. Daniel Suarez, I think, had a really good year this past year. Had some decent runs on super speedways, led a lot of laps at Talladega and Daytona as well. And I think Suarez could be an underdog and a threat to somehow get his way in the 500 and win the Daytona 500 as well. So, that is the updated 2023 Daytona 500 entry list. I want to thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe to the channel, notifications on, so be notified when a video does go live on my channel. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and support me on Patreon as well. Links go below for that, and comment below your thoughts below on today's video. What other changes do you think are going to come to the 2023 Daytona 500 entry list? Let me know in the comments below. Tomorrow on my channel, we should either have a NASCAR news video or we have a couple special projects coming out over the next few days as we get close to Christmas time. We're about to get ready to end the time for Christmas, and we're going on break at the end of this week. So you will see that on the channel, and then there'll be a little break on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day as we're 1 week away from Christmas. So anyway, like I said, I want to thank you guys for watching today's episode, and I'll see you guys next time for some more great, awesome NASCAR content and other motorsports content on the channel like this. Take care, everybody.